Hello and welcome to the Crystal Palace podcast. I'm Alphonse Greenborough and today in Pod 11 I'll be looking at a result over Sunderland by bringing you my match review, player rankings and my man of match. As well as this, I'm also going to bring you an exclusive interview with Alan Pardew, Christian Benteke and Zeki Fries after the game. So let's begin. An injury time header by Christian Benteke saw Palace recover from 2 goals down with half an hour to play to win 3-2 on an incredible afternoon on Wearside. 2 goals from Jermaine Defoe had put David Moyes' Black Cats in firm control, but just 60 seconds after falling 2-0 down, Palace saw Joe Ledley's deflected shot creep in before James McArthur headed in on 75 minutes to level the scores. Then in the 4th minute of injury time, Benteke dispatched a header from a free-kick delivery to turn the game on its head and clinch Palace's 3rd straight win for the first time since April 2015. The wind conditions helped produce a scrappy first 10 minutes, but the first opportunities came to Benteke, who headed straight at Jordan Pickford from a Joe Ward cross, and then a minute later when the Eagles won a corner and Jason Puncheon pitched out the Belgium striker, who this time had to control the ball on his chest but volleyed it wide from the edge of the box. Palace enjoyed the better of possession in the opening stages, and on 25 minutes a third chance came Benteke's way when Andros Townsend clipped a pass into Jason Puncheon's path, and after scrapping past Lee Cattermole and cutting the ball across the goalmouth, Benteke spun over it and shot it over the crossbar from close range. Sunderland finally registered their first attempt when Patrick Van Aanholt sped down the left and whipped a delivery into Defoe, who produced an inventive flick to divert it goalwards, and despite Steve Mandanda scrambling across the line, the ball flashed just wide of the far post. Despite that scare, the Eagles continued to remain on top of proceedings, and Benteke scuffed a shot at Pickford, and Yohan Cabaye saw a half-volley arc just over. But one error proved costly as Palace handed Sunderland the chance to take the lead on 39 minutes. Mandanda played the ball out to Ledley, who under pressure turned back to pass it back to one of the centre-backs. However, the wayward execution was seized upon by Defoe, who held off James Tompkins to tuck the ball past the Palace keeper, and despite him getting a touch on it, it trickled into the bottom corner for the game's opening goal. Alan Pardew's men had 3 opportunities to pull level before the break, but couldn't quite find the equaliser to take into half-time. Once again, a punching corner caused problems, and a fully stretched Damien Delaney couldn't quite turn in Benteke's cushioned header. Then Townsend saw a 30-yarder free kick drift just wide before Cabaye had a shot blocked after taking up a dangerous position in the box. Continuing in the same vein after the restart, Palace nearly made a swift 3v2 counter-attack pay off when James McArthur, Yohan Cabaye and Jason Puncheon raced away and carved out an opportunity for the winger, who forced Pickford to beat the shot away from his top corner. But on the hour mark, Defoe notched his second. Arjun Januzaj was allowed to cut inside from the right and find the striker, who blasted at Mandanda, who pulled off a great save. However, the attack was recycled and Duncan Watmore's low centre fell forward for the marksman, who once again displayed his predatory interest to fire home. But the 2-goal advantage lasted just 60 seconds when Palace found a striker of their own. A long diagonal ball by Damien Delaney was chested into Ledley's path by McArthur, and the Welshman made attempts from his earlier error when his drive deflected off Van Aanholt and ended up in the net as the South Londoners re-established a foothold in the game. Defoe nearly continued his hat-trick on 69 minutes when Januzaj and Watmore handed the former England striker a sight at goal, but he blasted it over. But on 75 minutes the Eagles completed the comeback. Seconds after coming on as the substitute, Zeki Fries jinked past his man and whipped a fantastic cross into the box, which was just begging for a Palace player to head it into the net, and McArthur was on hand to just do that and make it 2-2. Pardew players bombed forward searching for a winner, and Townsend nearly got one when he cut inside from the right and bent a shot towards the bottom corner, but it was fractions well away from the target. But just as the game looked to be heading for a draw, the Eagles won a free kick by the corner flag in the final 4 additional minutes when Connor Wickham was fouled. Once again, a fresh replacement took it, and Chung Lee's ball was whipped into the area and met by the head of Benteke, and this time he made no mistake as he buried it past the despairing dive of Pickford and complete an incredible comeback. So now you've heard the match review, we're now going to move on to some positives and negatives from the game. Crystal Palace have found a new determination, enough to score 3 goals needed from 2-0 down at Sunderland to deservedly take all 3 points in Saturday's 3-2 victory. Some positives from the game. Palace didn't let their heads drop. Joe Ledley's strike soon after Sunderland scored their second showed great character. The second goal, a James McArthur header, showed great determination, whilst the third just showed what an impact momentum can have on a side in the match. Now for some negatives from the game. The two goals conceded were concerning. Palace can't afford to give away cheap goals like that on a regular basis. A point made all the more frustrating given the side had played so well in the lead up to both goals. Now to move on to 5 things we've learned from the game. Number 1. James Tompkins and Damien Delaney formed a good defensive partnership. Of course Scott Dann is a huge miss, but these two did a good job in his absence. They were up against it at times, dealing with balls in behind for Jermaine Defoe, but on the whole they were sound. Number 2. Christian Benteke is a match winner. Who knew? Okay, stop with the sarcasm, but he proved once again how good he is in the air. No one was ever going to beat him, and he leapt like a salmon to beat Jordan Pickford in the 93rd minute. Benteke was brought in to get goals, important goals, and if he continues like this, then the 30 million Palace paid for him was a bargain. Number 3. Alan Pardew is a tactical genius. Come on, who knew that James Zeki Fries, of all people, was going to skin his marker down on the left and deliver an inch-perfect ball for James McArthur? And then what about sending Chong Lee to make his second best impact he's had in a Palace shirt, behind that winner at Stoke City last December? Number 4. Palace's squad is just about good enough. There may be some fans who don't rate some of the fringe players, and rightly so after some poor performances at times. However, these players want a chance and want to make a difference. Fry and Lee did just that, and now are very much in Pardew's thinking for Everton next Friday. And number 5, Palace have heart. Okay, we all knew this for quite a while, but the character to come back from 2 goals down with 35 minutes or so remaining is remarkable. It's what's been brought into the Palace way of life since Dougie Freeman was boss. They wanted that 3rd win on the trot. They never stopped believing. Joe Ledley's instant response was of course the most important, you would argue. If there hadn't been a goal back soon after Defoe's second, Palace probably wouldn't have come away with a draw, let alone a win. So now you've heard the match review, we're now going to move on to the player rankings. But before we start with that, don't forget to follow us across social media at eCrystalPalace on Twitter and Facebook for all the latest news. And for all you Facebook users out there, don't forget to check out our Facebook group so you can join in with the latest discussions, read the latest news and also post your own opinion. So obviously before I go and start by giving you the player rankings and who I thought had the biggest influence on the game, if you do have a different opinion to me or you just want to comment something below about the game, do obviously, if you are listening on YouTube, drop a comment below the video on YouTube. And obviously if you do want to get in contact with us, do tweet us at eCrystalPalace on Twitter. And also if you want to join us on Facebook, do join the Facebook group, because obviously you can join in with discussions on there, read the latest news, because we post quite a lot of news on there, and also post your own opinion. So if you, like I said, if you've got something you want to say about the game, or you have a different opinion on what I've said, or about what anyone said, to be honest, do comment it either on the YouTube comments, Facebook page, Twitter page, whatever you want to do, so we can add a bit more discussion to the account and so we can hear what other fans had to say. But you know, if you do disagree with me, do comment a bit below, and if you want, list all of the players from the game, the starting 11 and the substitutions, and give them ratings out of 10 and see how they can compare to mine. But obviously starting in goal with Steve Mondonda, who I am going to give a 7. It's difficult to give goalkeepers a good rating when they've conceded 2 goals, but Mandanda couldn't really be blamed for either. A few decent saves ensured Sunderland didn't take a greater lead. So obviously Steve Mandanda, he did concede 2 goals in this game, but like the other games, he was superb throughout the game, whether it be making massive saves, making himself big and making crucial saves throughout the game, whether it be making crucial blocks throughout the game, anything like this, or things like this, he done very well throughout the game. And you know, we could blame him for the 2 goals he conceded, but when you look back at the game, one of them was offside, so it shouldn't have been allowed anyway, and the other one, his foot did get a touch on it, so he was quite unlucky there. So to be honest, we can't really blame him for that, because on both occasions he was very unlucky in the fact that one of them was offside and the other one took a touch of him, so he almost saved that one. But to be honest, you know, we could criticise him, but I get, as a whole game, he made decent saves, and they were at crucial parts of the game where if he hadn't have done that, Sunderland probably would have taken a greater lead. And, it is thanks to him that he ensured that Sunderland didn't take the great lead throughout the game. But obviously, Steve Mandanda keeps continuously getting sevens in the game for very decent performances where he just does the bog standard thing you would expect of a player, which is what you want of a goalkeeper. Someone who can make crucial saves in games, make or have good distribution to get the ball forward, and just overall add a little bit more presence and organisation to the back line. And that leads me nicely on to the back four, starting with the right back Joe Ward. Had a difficult game against Januzaj and Duncan Watmore, but managed to get the better of both players when needed to. So obviously, Joe Ward, he isn't the fastest player, but he isn't the slowest player, and we all knew that. But, when you've got a player like Januzaj and Watmore, you've got to try and defend them very well. You have to try and defend them very well. And obviously, they're quite fast players. But to be honest, Joe Ward uses professionalism to get control of the game and get the better of these players throughout the game. And that was both defensively and offensively as well. Obviously, defensively, making tackles, making blocks, making sure they couldn't get into the box. And on a few occasions, yes, they got past, but as a whole, right with most of the players, to be honest, as a whole game, he done very well because he was able to consistently defend very well against them throughout the game. And to be honest, when I'm talking about offensively going forward, he managed to get past them on a few occasions, making lovely runs, getting past them. Obviously, in the first half, putting a lovely, decent cross in the 15th minute to Benteke. Lovely pinpoint cross there. Obviously, Benteke couldn't convert it because there was a save by Pickford. But, Joe Ward, he's doing the defensive work which we want of him. Whether that be tracking back, defending, making tackles, making blocks, But also we're seeing more of his attacking attributes. And obviously, a few games ago, maybe the game against Bournemouth, he wasn't really up to his best, and we were debating about whether to drop him. But now he's finally got the sync of this season and is starting to put in very consistent performances, which are to very high standards. Obviously, now to move on to the centre-back, James Tomkins. Obviously, came in for the injured captain, Scott Dann, and I am going to give James Tomkins a 7. There's a calmness about Tomkins that insults confidence in the rest of his defensive partners. While he could have done better for Jermaine Defoe's second goal, a more diligent assistant referee would have seen that the Sunderland striker was offside. So obviously James Tomkins, similar to Ward, and to be honest, similar for the whole of the back line. He was very good defensively. And to be honest, the thing that put him aside from the other players is he had quite a nice calmness about him. And to be honest, I think that helped the rest of the defensive players. Because, if you've got a player who's not only a leader, but has a bit of calmness in the game, that means that when players are under pressure, like we were when Sunderland were counter-attacking, we were able to deal with that. And we've done that very well on a few occasions. Damien Delaney being the captain, ordering everyone, Tomkins being that calmness. I think that sort of combination worked really well because, like I said, when we were under pressure, we were able to deal with it. And to be honest, like I said, the calmness sort of reflected on the rest of the defensive partners and the defensive players because, we weren't going to panic about it when we were under pressure. We would try and take this pressure, soak up the pressure and do something with it. And, he was crucial to that. And to be honest, Jermaine Defoe's second goal, he could have done better with it, obviously trying to head the ball away or clear the ball away. But to be honest, if the assistant referee would have been more vigilant, he would have seen that Jermaine Defoe was clearly offside. So it wasn't like he was marginally offside, he was completely offside. But at the end of the day, we won the game. We're not really going to criticise the defenders much because of that. Because overall, as a game, he done what was expected of him. And to be honest, he was a very dependable player at the back for Palace. And obviously, to move on to his defensive partner, and the captain for this game, following the absence of Scott Dann, and that is Damien Delaney, who I am going to give a 7. The chief culprit in Palace's poor service to Benteke. But that being said, his defensive qualities means he's much a dependable player to call upon. So obviously Damien Delaney came in, captained the side, and done that very well. He helped with the comeback. The morale of the team probably would have been quite low at the time of us being 2-0 down. But I think that his leadership did help us to build up confidence again and obviously get them 3 goals to get us to win. And I think he was crucial to that, Make sure players have the ambition, they have the hope that you can actually get something from the game. And I suppose he's one of the key players with that. Because of his leadership. And I suppose a word to describe his leadership was determination. He was determined to get a result for his team, so he made sure that all the players knew what they were doing. They all put in 100% effort, and ultimately that led to us winning the game. And to be honest, Yes, he was the main culprit in the long balls to Benteke, and admittedly one of the long balls did lead to a goal, obviously. Lovely long ball, or diagonal ball, to McCarver, headed it down to Ledley. Ledley strikes it and scores. So, on that occasion, his long ball was very good, but for the rest of the game, his service was quite poor. But in saying that, as a defender, we know we can rely on him, obviously, as being the captain, but his defensive qualities were superb, whether it be tackling, whether it be headering away, making blocks, all of that, what you would expect of a defender, he done very well. And to be honest, it makes him a dependable player. Obviously, when Scott Dann comes back, I think that probably James Tompkins will probably come back, because, that's the sort of new partnership we've got at the club. But certainly, Damien Delaney, he is a dependable player to call upon. If we do ever need him into the side again, I'm sure that he can step into that role, come into the side, and make an impact like he did in this game. Obviously, moving on to the final player in Palace's lineup, or in Palace's back line, and that is Martin Kelly, who I am going to give a 7. As with Ward, Kelly had a decent game against two very busy wingers. So obviously, quite similar to the whole backline and to Joe Ward especially. He didn't do much wrong in the game. He didn't do much right. He had a very average, decent game for Palace. Obviously, quite rewarding that he got the 7. I think that's the right rating for him. But like with Ward, he had a very good game. He did have quite difficult wingers, fast-pacey wingers, he had to defend against. But he done that very well. And same with Tompkins, he had the calmness about that. When we were under pressure, he was able to soak that pressure up, catch up, try and get to man mark them. And obviously in the game itself, when we were under the pressure, he was able to make the blocks from the several crosses that they put into the area. And to be honest, he isn't the fastest player, but he dealt with these two very busy wingers very well. And to be honest, on a few occasions as well, he managed to get forward. And yes, he got substituted late on the game for Zeki Fries, but I think that was more of an attacking substitution, because we were 2-0 up at the time. We were 2-2 at that time. We wanted to push forward, so we brought on Zeki Fries, because that's the advantage Zeki Fries has over Martin Kelly, is the fact that he's more attacking. And we're seeing that with the loss of, obviously, Papa Suarez, who, by the way, is doing very well in his recovery, apparently. But obviously, Martin Kelly, he isn't the best attacking player. We know he's very good defensively, but, brought on Zeki Fries, and he had a massive impact. And I'll go on to talk about him. But, like I said, similar with Ward and the whole of the back line, he done his defensive work very well, whether it be tackling, blocking, headering away, but also on a few occasions was able to get past the two busy wingers from Sunderland and get forward on a few occasions. Obviously, now to move on to the midfielders, and obviously this game, like the last few games, Palace sort of are still toying with the new formation, which is the 4-3-3, and I personally think it's working very well, because the defenders are able to give better support to the midfielders, and obviously the midfielders then can push forward more, as well as doing defensive work, and actually provide a better service to the attackers. And I think that formation worked very well. And obviously in the sort of formation 3, there was Joe Ledley, James MacArthur and Johan Cabaye. And obviously with Joe Ledley playing quite deep, and then obviously MacArthur and Johan Cabaye pushing forward, pushing back throughout the game, and sort of in them sort of changeable roles. And to be honest, I saw that very well. That was very well. And obviously the front 3 in that formation was Puncheon on one wing, Townsend on the other wing, and Christian Benteke down the middle. But to start with the midfield 3, I'm going to start with Joe Ledley, who I am going to give a 7. Few would have imagined Sunderland would score a goal thanks to an error from Joe Ledley, but it was the Welshman's senseless pass back to the goalkeeper that led to the opener. He redeemed himself in the first of Palace's 3 goals, however an effort which helped the side to push on. So obviously Joe Ledley was playing in the more defensive role in the midfield 3, and he'd done that very well. And to be honest, we wouldn't have thought that Joe Ledley would have been the player to gift Sunderland the goal, because he's normally a very good passer, he's normally a good distributor of the ball, but obviously on this occasion his distribution and passing wasn't very well, and he put the ball back to the goalkeeper. Jermaine Defoe got on the end of it and scored. So on that occasion, he made the error. It did cost us the goal, but to be honest, he redeemed himself in the second half. He put out a better performance in the second half, both defensively and offensively. And in that sort of second half period where we scored the 2 goals, Joe Ledley pushed forward quite a lot, and we saw that Johan Cabaye pushed back a bit. So sort of a change in the formation there and the personnel, which meant that he was able to get forward, and ultimately from him going forward, he scored the goal. And to be honest, that sort of goal boosted the morale of the team, pushed up the determination, and ultimately helped Palace to push on in the game and get something from it. But to be honest, Joe Ledley playing in the midfield 3 as a defensive player, done very well in that role, making tackles, making blocks, making passes except for the one that led to Sunderland's goal. But overall, a goal in that game, as well as a solid defensive performance. It was overall a very good performance from him. Now for James McArthur, and this is the third week in a row where I've given a player a 9, and once again, James McArthur has been rated the highest player with a 9, and to be honest, he's playing phenomenally well at the minute. Got another goal today. He's up to 2 goals for the season, and I believe it's 1 assist. So he's having a blinding start to the season so far, and once again, got a 9. And to be honest, a few weeks ago I was like, it's very rare for a player to get a 9, but now James McArthur consistently putting in performances is getting a 9 every week. But initially started playing in the defensive role alongside Ledley. McArthur gradually pushed forward in the second half, and his contribution was telling. The Scottish midfielder got an assist for Ledley's goal, and then scored the equaliser with a well-timed diving header, setting the foundations for Palace to get the winner. So obviously I was talking about the midfield three and touching on it a bit, and James McArthur did play quite a crucial role in that midfield three there. Obviously with him playing alongside Ledley for parts of the game, but if you look at the game as a whole, he did sort of play more forward than he did back, and he done that very well. And overall, if you look back at the game, the first half he was more defensive, but in the second half, he was more offensive. He got forward more because obviously Palace were looking to get a goal and get back into the game. And we know that James McArthur can be a very good attacking threat. And obviously that's why Pardew ordered him to go forward. And obviously that tactic worked very well because it meant that we had more players going forward. The creativity of both Puncheon and McArthur to get the ball forward. And, that worked really well. And to be honest, his contribution was fantastic. It was very telling, let's say. But to be honest, he got the assist for Ledley's goal. So I was just saying, before I gave you the rankings, or the rating of him, he got an assist in this game. He's already on 2 goals for the season. So he's having an absolutely blinding start to the season. And once again, carried on that performance into the game. Whether it be his defensive work, making tackles, making blocks, or whether it be going forward, whether it be his distribution, as in finding a pass, finding or having a shot, or whether it be holding up the ball. All of that stuff played really well. And I think that's what helped him in the game, was the fact that he was able to get forward, get the ball quite a lot, be on the ball, work with the ball, and ultimately that led to us creating a lot of chances. And obviously he did score the equaliser for Palace, which obviously made the game 2-2. A lovely cross there from Zeki Fries, but the header I think was even better, because it wasn't like he was running onto the ball and he headed it in. He timed it perfectly, so when the ball was coming in the area, he ran onto it and had a diving header onto it. So that just made it all the much better. And to be honest, like with Ledley scoring his goal, it set the foundation for Palace to get the win. I think if it weren't for Ledley, or if it weren't for Ledley and McArthur getting them goals, we probably wouldn't have had the momentum and the determination to go on and win the game. And to be honest, I think that helped us push on and win the game, because it set the foundations. It's 2-2 now, back to sort of 0-0. Whoever scores the next goal wins the game. And sort of that mentality, I think he helped add to the side, which meant that when we had to score, we went on and scored the winner late on in the game. But overall, James McArthur had a fantastic game for Palace. Once again, a lovely 9 there for him. And, do comment below whether you think that's maybe too high rating him. But personally, I think he had an absolutely phenomenal performance, especially attackingly or offensively. But also, when he had to do the defensive work, he done that with ease as well. Now to move on to the final player in our midfield three, which is Yohan Cabaye. A poor studs-up challenge for Neymar de Jong midway through the first half had a lasting impact on the Frenchman. He struggled to recover and allowed the frustration to get the better of him, resulting in a yellow card for a kick on Watmore. So for Yohan Cabaye, I've given him a 6 because he didn't have the best performance overall. But if you look at the sort of first 15 minutes where we were absolutely dominant, I think that he was quite crucial to that. He was the most attacking threat throughout the game, because out of our midfield three, he was the one pushing forward the most. And to be honest, forgive me if I say the player's name wrong, but Diane De Dong, he made quite a bad tackle on Cabaye, and I think that had an impact on his game, because obviously the first 15 minutes, he was fantastic, making, supplying the ball forward, using his creativity to find a pass, to find to find another player, or to use his hold-up play. He done that very well, but this sort of tackle did have a long impact had an impact on him as the game went on, and we did see, he wasn't really playing up to the best of his ability. And, I think the frustration got to him throughout the second half, because obviously he wasn't able to recover from this injury. And, that he got a free kick, or gave away a free kick for a kick on Watmore. But to be honest, you're struggling to recover from an injury. it was a pretty bad challenge there. He's not having the best of games, so you could see his frustration. But you know, whether you should be making kicks on players is another question. But to be honest, he didn't have the best of performances. But you know, I did give him the 6 because given his due, he was trying to recover from the injury as the game went on. But still, he was able to do stuff in the game, whether it be attacking the ball, whether it be defending the ball, and obviously in the midfield three, he switched between the two, whether it be attacking or offensive. You know, he switched between the two roles. And to be honest, he did have a little bit of an impact on the game, especially, and I must highlight, the first 15 minutes. Yes, he didn't have a good game overall, and we would say that when Zaha comes back, he'll probably be dropped and Puncheon will move into that midfield role. But certainly, you know, he did have an alright performance, and give him his due, he done quite a lot, or he done his best considering he was recovering from a injury. Now to move on to the front three players in our 4-3-3 formation, starting with the winger Jason Puncheon, who I am going to give a 7. It wasn't the most creative performances from Puncheon, but his willingness to take possession and to attempt to create opportunities shouldn't be ignored. It's also clear that he has significantly reduced impact when he's played on the wing. So obviously, it wasn't the most creative performance from Puncheon, and we do know he's the most creative player, whether that be finding a pass, maybe with his hold-up play, whether it be, you know, finding pockets of space to run into. And you know, we didn't see the best of his creativity in this game. But in saying that, like Cabaye, we must give him credit, because throughout the game he still did use his attributes, and he used his creativity to his advantage, whether it would be when we were going forward, whether it be finding the pass, using hold-up play, and he done everything that was wanted of him. And obviously in the last few games where he hasn't been playing on the wing, he's been playing more defensive, and obviously, like Cabaye, switching between the roles. And to be honest, he had a very nice willingness to take possession. And to be honest, recently we've sort of bossed possession. We've got sort of 54% possession average probably in the last few games. And I think that meant that was good for Puncheon, because when he has the possession, he has the willingness to take it and do something with it. And to be honest, when he had possession, instead of what he's done in past seasons and past games, sort of the first 2-3 games of the season, when he has the ball, he's not going to give it away too much and give away possession too much, because in this game, he had a willingness to keep the possession and use his creativity to find a pass. And on a few occasions, he did do that. And to be honest, yes, he didn't score, and he hasn't scored yet this season, and he hasn't had any assists of major note. Like, he hasn't done anything spectacular, but he shouldn't be ignored, because this is what we want from players. We want players who have a willingness to play the game. We want players who, you know, want to create opportunities, want to have possession, and obviously want to be creative. And to be honest, it was a very good performance from him, and it shouldn't be ignored. And yes, he doesn't get into Team of the Week like players like MacArthur, but certainly his contribution to the side was quite important. And to be honest, we all knew, or he came to the club as a winger, but we all know that his sort of key role now is either as a centre attacking mid or a centre mid. So we know that he's more fitted to that role. And to be honest, we know that his impact is significantly reduced when he's on the wing. So hopefully when Zaha comes back, he'll drop back into the midfield role, and in that way he'll have more of an impact on the game. But, you know, putting that aside, I think a 7 is a very solid score for him, because he had a very creative performance. He kept possession very well and also created a lot of opportunities. Now to move on to the striker, the main man, Christian Benteke, and I am going to give him an 8. Palace's record 30 million signing deserved better service than he got for 93 minutes of the match, but his goal just showed how much quality he has. It's difficult to understand why Sunderland let him completely go completely unmarked for the goal, but he took advantage of it brilliantly. So obviously, Christian Benteke has once again paying back the £30 million Palace paid for him. And you know, when he came to the club, people were debating whether he'd be able to fit into our system. But I think his system, or our system, suits him very well. You know, get the balls into the box so he can head them down. And I think that resulted in him having a very good game. And to be honest, he deserves better service in the game. You know, Damien Delaney's diagonal balls are not the way to suit Benteke's style. But in saying that, he did show why we paid that much for him with the quality he has. And to be honest, for his goal, it was difficult to understand why Sunderland left him in so much space. You know, Sunderland playing zonal marking had 5-6 men in a row just in front of the line, and yet they let Benteke, who ran into the box just from sort of the edge of the penalty spot, ran into the box. Lee Chun-yong whipped the ball in, and Benteke was there to head the ball in. So I don't know why, you know, Sunderland were not marking him with their zonal marking, But to be honest, he took advantage of that very well, and that shows how professional Benteke is. The fact that when he sees that they're not really defending very well, he can exploit that. When the cross came in, obviously that resulted in him having the goal. But to be honest, yes, he didn't have the best service for the majority of the game, but he did have a few headers from lovely crosses, you know, throughout the game that was saved by Pickford, who, by the way, is a very decent keeper, definitely based on the start of this season. But to be honest, he had a few opportunities throughout the game. You know, one of them, a corner was whipped in, he chested it down and had a shot, just went wide. He obviously had a few of the crosses came in, he had headers which got saved. So to be honest, yes, he didn't have the best of games, you know, in the fact that throughout the game, other than the goal, he did much. But to be honest, if he had better service, he could have been able to do more. But, you know, one last thing to sort of highlight about his performance is, once again, his hold-up play was fantastic. You know, he'll get a pass from whether it be Punchin, Townsend, MacArthur, he'd get the ball and, you know, wait for support. And he'd done that quite a lot on a few occasions. You know, he's got the ball, but, you know, he's got 3 men marking him. So what you have to do, try and be creative with the ball, wait for support to come in. And obviously that hold-up play ultimately led to us creating quite a lot of opportunities. Obviously, Christian Benteke fully deserves the 8 for the game because, you know, his goal was fantastic. His hold-up play was fantastic as well. His headering in the game overall was fantastic, but certainly if he had more service throughout the game, he probably would have been able to score more goals. Now to move on to the final player of the starting 11, obviously the final player of the 4-3-3 formation, and that is Andros Townsend, who I am going to give a 6. Not his greatest game. A lack of quality when in possession was made worse by the lack of defensive work which Pardew asked him to do. Despite this, he nearly scored with a run and shot similar to the one he scored against Stoke, but we would have expected more from him. So obviously Andros Townsend have given him a 6, and he is quite a consistent player, consistently getting 6s and 7s. And to be honest, although that this wasn't his greatest game, he's still done enough to get a sort of average rating. He'd done what was expected of him, and he'd done that very well. And to be honest, you know, he did lack a bit of quality, which we know we can see from him. And obviously in possession, unlike Punchin, where Punchin wouldn't panic under possession, I think Townsend panicked quite a lot in this game, you know, giving away possession quite quickly. And to be honest, it was made a little bit worse by the fact that when he had the ball, he wasn't able, or when he didn't have the ball, when he had to track back and defend, he didn't really do that defensive work very well. And to be honest, we can't really fault him for that based on this one game, because the other games in the season that he's played, his defensive work has been fantastic, and that's what Pardew's wanted him to do. He wants him to obviously be attacking, use his creativity and his quality to get forward and have a shot. But sometimes, you know, Pardew wants him to do defensive work. And yes, he did track back on a few occasions and made some blocks and, you know, got the ball off a player by making a tackle. But overall in the game, he didn't have the greatest of defensive games as such, because, you know, that's what Pardew wanted him to do, and he didn't do it to the best of his ability. But despite this, you know, he almost scored with a run which was probably identical to the one against Stoke. Obviously, Palace hit Sunderland on the counter-attack. He had a run, cut inside, obviously, from the right-hand side, had a shot, and it just went wide of the post. So it was almost basically a duplicate goal, or it would have been a duplicate goal from the one he scored against Stoke, but obviously on the other side. But to be honest, as a performance as a whole, we would have expected more from him. You know, it wasn't his greatest game, but, you know, what we expect from him is a lot of quality when in possession. We want him to do defensive work, and also when he has a shot on goal, we want him to make sure that he is going to do it. Whether that means he takes an extra touch, or whether it means he'll pass it and lay it off to a player and do a 1-2, whatever he wants to do, we need him to do it. Because although it wasn't the best of games from him, if he had maybe made some better decisions or showed a bit more of his quality throughout the game, he would have had a better game overall. Obviously, now to move on to the substitutions: Zeki Fries, Lee Ching-yong and Connor Wickham. So obviously all three of these players I'm not really going to give ratings for, because obviously they were hardly on the pitch long enough, but I am going to read through all of their three statements together, and then I'll just discuss a little bit onto them, and then I'll move on to the player rankings. But obviously Zeki Fries, so often amalgamated for his lack of appearances for the club. Fries was brought on for Kelly and immediately made his contribution with a touch of skill and a wicked cross into the box, with which James MacArthur brilliantly headed into the net. His defensive work wasn't bad either. Lee Ching-yong, brought on in the last minute of the game. His cross into the box was met by Christian Benteke's header to give Palace the lead. Connor Wickham made up for his toothless performance against Southampton in the EFL Cup by working tirelessly and making a constant nuisance of himself. So obviously out of these sort of three substitutions. I think that Lee Ching-yong and both Zeki Fries had the biggest impact on the game. Obviously, Zeki Fries with that fantastic cross and skill to get past the defender, and that cross to MacArthur to get the assist for Palace's equaliser goal. Obviously, Lee Ching-yong, he had a fantastic game. You know, he was brought on for the last minute, so he had 90 seconds or so, 60 to 90 seconds to make an impact, and he done that. He only had one touch in the game, and that touch led to Palace's goal. You know, a free kick by the corner flag. He whipped it in, lovely delivery, lovely curl on the ball, lovely weight on the ball. And then obviously Benteke was there to meet it. So, you know, these substitutions came on the pitch, had a massive impact in both goals they scored, or both goals that Palace scored. Obviously, Zeki Fries with the skill to get past the defender and the cross from MacArthur to score, and Lee Ching-yong for that cross for Benteke. So they all had a very big impact on the game. And just touching on Zeki Fries, obviously he came on for Martin Kelly. You know, Martin Kelly isn't the most he's the more defensive fullback, but obviously bringing Zeki Fries on meant that we had a more attacking fullback, and obviously that resulted in him getting fooled on a few occasions. Obviously, Connor Wickham, he didn't have the best of performances against Southampton, but in this game he worked quite tirelessly to try and get something from the game, and to be honest, he was quite a nuisance of himself in the game. You know, a few corners came in, he'll try and get his head on it. You know, when we were going on the counter-attack, we might whip in a cross, he'd try and get his head on it, so he was being a nuisance of himself. But, you know, he'd had a pretty good game overall, and he did make up for that. And you know, I think that with Benteke in the side now, I think he's going to struggle to get games at Palace. But certainly, if he can come off the bench again and do a very good, or have a little impact like he did this game and work tirelessly, I'm sure that, you know, he'll maybe get an eye to getting into the side again. Because to be honest, he came on the pitch, made a nuisance of himself, and actually had quite a lot of impact on the game, because he meant that we were able to keep hold of the game and keep possession like we did for the rest of the game. Obviously, they were all of the player rankings, and to be honest, I think overall it was a fantastic game from Palace. The team showed great determination, and obviously that was enough to score 3 goals. You know, we were 2-0 down. You think morale would be pretty low in the side, but you know, the leaders in the team, the calm players in the team shone through and helped us to get the determination to score the 3 goals, and ultimately that led to us getting the 3-2 victory. Now to move on to the Man of the Match award, and before I do that and give you my Man of the Match and who I thought had the biggest influence on the game, I'm now going to give you the results of my Twitter poll. So obviously the 4 nominations for the Man of the Match award were Zeki Fries, James MacArthur, Jason Puncheon, and obviously Christian Benteke. So obviously I am going to give you the results of the Twitter poll now. So in 4th place with 13% of the votes was Zeki Fries. In joint 2nd place with 16% of the votes each was Jason Puncheon and Christian Benteke, which means the winner of the CPFC podcast Man of the Match award for the game against Sunderland was James MacArthur with a wonderful record-breaking, I think, 55% of the votes. So congratulations, James MacArthur. You know, you don't get a trophy or certificate for your works, but you do get my sincere congratulations on what was a very solid attacking performance from you. But obviously now I've given you the results of the Twitter poll, and I'm just going to run over why I nominated these 4 people for the Man of the Match award. Obviously, starting with Zeki Fries, came off the bench and for Martin Kelly and had an ultimate impact on the game. Obviously, came on the field straight off from coming on the field. He was one-on-one with a defender, managed to get weave his way past him, put in a lovely, decent cross into the air, which MacArthur scored from. So once again, he's come off the bench, had a massive impact on the game, and that's why I put him into the nominations. Obviously, that cross was superb, but also that skill, them step-overs to get past the defender was fantastic as well. And to be honest, we can't fault him for his defensive work either. You know, when he had to get back and defend when we were under pressure in the last sort of few minutes of the game, he was able to cope with the pressure well as well. Obviously, James MacArthur got the highest rating from the player rankings, obviously, at 9. He played very well in the game, and yes, he sort of rotated from defensive and offensive roles within the side, but he done that very well. You know, when he was going forward, he was able to use his hold-up play very well, his distribution, his passing, he done that very well, and obviously he did score the goal as well. Obviously, lovely cross from Zeki Fries again, but obviously a lovely time diving header from McCarthy as well. And to be honest, with his defensive work as well, when he had to get back and defend, he done that very well, whether it be making tackles, making blocks, doing the bog standard thing you would expect of a defensive midfielder. And obviously he done that very well. And to be honest, his contribution was just absolutely phenomenal. Now to move on to Jason Puncheon, who was playing on the wing in this game, and although it wasn't one of his most creative performances from the game, his willingness to take possession is why I've put him on the shortlist. Yes, because in the last few games, yes, we've been taking a lot of possession, but I think he's actually quite key to that. We like to have possession, and ultimately that means we have more of the ball, obviously, and we do more shots. And I think Puncheon's willingness to chase down balls, try and win back possession, make tackles to get possession, had an ultimate impact on the game. And to be honest, because we had more possession, and because quite a lot of the possession came through Puncheon, it meant that when he had the ball, he'd try and weave past people, try and create opportunities. And to be honest, this shouldn't really be ignored. We've got a player who's willingly, going forward, making tackles to try and get back the ball to get more possession and create attempts. And to be honest, it was fantastic. And to be honest, it's clear that he has a reduced impact on the wing, but I'm sure when Zaha comes back into the side, he'll drop back into his midfield role and have an even more creative impact on the game. And obviously moving on to the final substitution, Christian Benteke. He was fantastic in the game, and yes, the service to him wasn't fantastic, but he was managed to deal with that and adapt to the bad service. And obviously he showed why he was worth £30 million. His hold-up play was fantastic, his headering ability was fantastic, and to be honest, his just awareness of the game was fantastic as well. Obviously, Sunderland had 6 men on the line for the goal. Lee Ching-yong whipped in the free kick, and obviously Christian Benteke looked at the scenario, saw that there was space there, and saw that there was no one defending it, zonal marking, and he used his skill, his knowledge to look at that situation and take the best from it. And obviously that ultimately led to him scoring a goal because he used his professionalism and also his experience to get the ball past the keeper and score the goal. But obviously there's sort of why I've nominated these people, because to be honest, all the players had really good games, but these players stood out for me because of just their contribution to the game, whether it be their attacking sense, the defensive sense, and also just for most of the players, hold-up play as well. And I think that's pretty key to the way that Palace is set up at the minute. But obviously I am going to go with the Twitter poll this week, and I am going to give the Man of the Match award to James McArthur. So congratulations, James. You don't get a trophy or certificate, but you do get my sincere congratulations on what was a very solid performance from you, and especially a solid performance from the rest of the team. But the reason I just gave it to him is, yes, I gave him the 9 in the player rankings, and that's probably why I've put him or given him the man of the match. But to be honest, his defensive work and offensive work was fantastic throughout the game. And his pressing, his hold-up play, his passing, and also the goal was just all of that put together is why I put him on the man of the match shortlist, and that's why he's won it, because overall he just had a fantastic game, and hopefully there's more to come from him this season. So now you've heard my match report, player rankings, and my man of the match. That concludes this week's podcast for the game against Sunderland. Now I've got an exclusive interview with Alan Pardew, Christian Benteke and Zeki Fries following the game.
Alan, what an incredible fight back from your team today.
Yeah, it was, and so many moments of joy in that game. Although, as well as we played first half, we come in 1-0 down from a mistake. We couldn't afford to make a mistake second half as much as we want to play out. So we went a little bit more direct after that. And that will happen at times. But to be 2-0 down wasn't fair. Jermaine's offside, I think, for the second goal as well. But we have got that character in the team. And of course, the difference between this team and the team last year is got control of the game, which it had almost throughout, and it's got goals in it. And we proved that today.
And the substitutions as well. Both substitutes came on with the assists, Zeki Fries and Chung Yong Lee.
Yeah, Zeki I was really pleased with because he's had to fight his way to earn the respect of the group and myself. From really not being in the squad last year or anything. I thought he played okay in the week, and I knew that he's got that lovely left foot. If we could just get one delivery from him, and it happened straight away, of course, which is just a turn of luck for me and the team. But great finish from Maka, got in the box, and the winning goal was a great delivery from Chungy. And of course, when you got Christian in the team, he's got a liability to nod them in. A great win for us, fantastic result. Really sets us up for Everton.
Score a lot of goals from headers. Is that something you work on a lot on the training ground, getting those crosses in?
Well, of course, you've got Christian Benteke and Connor Wickham in the side. Connor did great when he came on, and I hope my fans recognise that, because he had a poor game in the week, and he'll be the first to admit it. But he made a big difference today, and I think we wouldn't have won if he hadn't come on the pitch.
And for Joe Ledley, he obviously would have been disappointed at half-time, but it was the perfect response from him, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's Joe though, isn't it? You know, he has that character, and he has that will to win that he's had throughout his career at Celtic and here and wherever else he's been. And of course for Wales, we've all seen that. It's typical of him to put it right. Scored a great goal.
And 3 Premier League wins in a row, first time since April last year. Team must have lots of confidence going into the game against Everton.
Yeah, we got a difficult game, but 10 points I would have taken from these 2 games we had left. So in a way, the Everton game's a bonus for us now. We can go there, and if we play like anything like we did today, we'll have a great chance.
Christian, congratulations on the winning goal there. Everyone still believe when you were down at 2-0?
Yeah, because I think we start well the first half, and then we concede a sloppy goal, and then after 2-0 down in the dressing room, we said that we have to do something, because we knew that we can come back in the game, and that's what we did.
And we seem to get a lot of goals from set pieces. How much work goes in on the training ground?
Yeah, I think it's one of our strengths, the set pieces, and you can see every game in the league the set pieces are important, so we try to use it as much as we can.
We saw both substitutes come on today and get assists for goals. It shows how important the squad is, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think we have a great squad, so the manager tries to use everyone, and that's why we are where we are now.
And 3 league wins in a row now, it must be a really happy place to play football.
Yeah, I think it's a nice game. I think, yeah, especially our fans really enjoy it, and hopefully we're gonna keep it like that.
And you against Sunderland as well. You scored more against them than any other Premier League side, I think.
Yeah, I think when I came here, I knew that I have a good scoring goal against them, so I didn't try to think much about it. But as soon as I had a chance to score, I have to do it, and that's what I did today.
Decky, what a great comeback from the team. You must be delighted.
Yeah, I'm buzzing for the team. I was on the bench looking at the game. Didn't get off to the best start, obviously conceding the goals, and then Gaffer said you're coming on. So yeah, I was buzzing about that.
Yeah, what did he say to you? Did he bring you on for attacking reasons?
Yeah, he just said get forward, obviously get some crosses in and stuff. And the first attack, I was able to get forward and get the cross in, and yeah, we scored.
It wasn't just a cross; you beat the man as well. Have you ever played as a winger?
I have played up before, but nah, it was you just get at him and get the ball in, and that was what I was instructed. So yeah, I'm great. I'm buzzing for the lads and stuff.
And it's a long time since the fans have seen you, apart from the other night in the cup. What's it been like for you the past 2 years?
Came here. Obviously the manager signed me. He left. Then I was sent out on loan and stuff. And then obviously last season, I was under the Alan Pardew and didn't get a look in. I went out on loan. Came back and then I got injured. And then after that, didn't make the team. So I just kept working, kept training hard, looked after myself, and then got in the squad now, and just hoping for more appearances and to keep helping the team.
Yeah, you seem to have got a lot more confidence at the moment. One of the standout players in pre-season. Was it frustrating at pre-season at that point to get the injury, just after you'd put a cross in, a bit like the one today actually?
Yeah, no, I thought I had a good pre-season, played a lot of games, a lot of minutes getting fit. So in my head, I was hopeful to have a good season, and then just a groin injury came at the wrong time, and then just kept working hard, got back from the injury and just kept at it.
So there you have it. Now you've heard what Alan Pardew, Christian Benteke and Zeki Fries had to say after the game. That concludes this week's podcast for the game against Sunderland. But make sure to come out next week for a post-match review for the game against Everton. So thanks for listening, and remember to up the Palace.